morning. My name is Aurelie Cormier, and welcome to the Intentional Wellness Parenting Show, where we set an intention to create healing and wellness every living day. Let me ask you, have you felt sometimes that life is just hard? Wonder if I told you that our life is actually meant for joy, fun, and good health. Of course, it doesn't just happen, but the first step to getting there is to believe that good health is possible and to envision what you would love. From there, we can choose the simple health habits that give our minds, bodies, and spirits the nourishment it needs to work well. Over 2 million people in the U.S. will be diagnosed with cancer this year. Between 600,000 and 1 million are preventable. Our genes are not our destiny, yet our epigenetics can be affected by environmental factors. Therefore, the best time to make a difference is now. So let's dive right in.
Welcome, everyone. Why don't you open this up? Because this topic today is so very important. And it really took a long time for us to realize how creating the healthy chef within can help us reduce the risk of colon cancer. It really took a long time for the powers to be to kind of admit there's something going on here, right?
Right.
And this is your area. This is something you've watched. Also, this is honoring National Colon Cancer Awareness Month and National Nutrition Month. Thank you for doing what you do. Tell us about the episode today.
Well, yeah, I wanted to really introduce that we have more power within us than oftentimes we realize. And part of that is cancers are very complicated. There's over 200 different types, but with colon cancer specifically, oftentimes, like other cancers, it's our genes in the face or our epigenetics in the face of our environment. So I want to give you some tips today that I hope will help you on your journey in life. And what I'm saying is that these things aren't easy, but it is possible that we can reduce our risk or prevent our risk of colon cancer or survive and heal if, in fact, you got colon cancer. But I want to start by giving an example of a patient that I had heard about last fall. A gentleman who he owned a series of beef restaurants, and his food was delicious. He had a lot of customers and people loved what he made. He had a couple of different restaurants. And so he spent a good portion of every day trying to make sure that everything went smoothly. Of course, he ate a lot of what he was making, and in his late 40s developed colon cancer. And at the time, he had what they call stage 3, which meant that the lymph nodes around the colon were also involved. So he had a resection of his colon in addition to 6 months of chemotherapy. And then he was cancer-free for about 2 years until it came back. And at that point, he thought long and hard about this. And I'm going to tell you what he did, but I want to preface by saying this is not necessarily what you would do, but this is what he decided to do. And basically, they when he found out he had cancer again, it had metastasized to his lung. They had to do a resection of his lung, and then they recommended another 6 months of chemo. And he thought long and hard about it. And he said, he just had such a hard time with the side effects of the chemo. He couldn't imagine going through that again. And what he said is he had to choose his heart. He had to choose whether he was going to, get the chemo again, or was he going to change his lifestyle to give himself a better chance of surviving. And so he decided for him, it was better to choose the hard route of changing his lifestyle and to give himself a better chance. So what he did is he started running. And not only did he run, he started doing half marathons, ultra marathons, Ironman marathons. I'm a runner. I couldn't even do that. But, and then he started feeling better and he started looking better. And then when his energy got up there, he said, well, I guess I could start eating healthier too. So then he started eating a more nutrient dense food. Well, not only did he feel better, look better, but he actually survived and cured himself and healed himself from his stage 4 colon cancer, which is amazing. And what I want you to take from this example is that it is possible. And not only is it possible, but it's never too late. And so the best time to start eating and living healthier lifestyle is now, because not only will you give yourself a better chance of living healthy and strong for a number of years, you're going to give your children a better chance of living a healthier, longer life.
You know, part of this is really important. And myself, I discovered something based on a scientific study that was sent to me. Actually, my friend sent me like 5 different studies, and we can talk about on what that thickener product is that we're putting in almost all the food. But you know, there are people that are out there, they want to know which have been found, you know, to be risk factors for colon cancer, because this is a conversation that is game changing.
Yep.
And it's been a hard one to have. Now, I surround myself with both, you know, natural doctors and conventional doctors.
Yep.
And, you know, what I've noticed in 20 years since using both is, of course, you know, Dr. Darvish and the natural remedies and conversations has always been the top priority. But now
Yep.
I'm seeing, I met with my doctor the other day in a telecall, and I'm just so impressed with how
Yeah.
that conversation has started to change. But let's talk about what to really look out for with colon cancer.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that, because there is a shift coming within our healthcare system, and it's been needed for a long time. But one of the things I want to start by saying is that 20 to 30% of all people with colon cancer have a hereditary predisposition for it. And 75% of those who develop colon cancer, usually there's a lifestyle factor that's there. So what are those lifestyle factors? Well, one is diet, you know, fatty red meats, a lot of the processed meats, things like bologna, hot dogs, bacon, pastrami, prosciutto, the luncheon pork meats, uh, smoking. We always think of smoking as lung cancer, but it can also be a risk factor for colon cancer. Alcohol, and I'm talking about excessive alcohol, is a risk factor for colon cancer. Obesity, a sedentary lifestyle, diabetes, and then a condition called primary sclerosing cholangitis. And you don't have to know what that is, but what I'll tell you, the short version is it's an autoimmune disease of the liver in which you get inflammation and scarring of the bile ducts. And that can also lead to colon cancer. And some of the risk factors are related to the processed foods that that were designed after World War II. Because, you know, a lot of these things, as I've said before, they were done with good intentions to try to make things easier for people. But then with experience, we realized some of these things weren't good for us. So, but they've, you know, infiltrated our habits in our culture. So now we have to undo some of those habits. But the other thing is that what we're seeing also, which is somewhat alarming, is that since the early 90s, because of these processed foods, we are seeing colon cancers being diagnosed in people from 17 to 50, in young people, that we never saw before. And this isn't just happening in the United States, it's happening all around the world. So that's why I really want to empower you with some of these factors which can help keep our, you know, risk down. So in terms of things that we might do to lessen our risk of these cancers, is just like that man was saying, choose your hard. Because as I said, I'm not saying it's easy to change our habits. A lot of our habits are because of what we were brought up with. But once we start doing them, oftentimes, if you can pick one, whether that be exercise, diet, meditation, whatever it is, pick one and do it every day for 3 weeks, and you will start finding that you start to feel better. And once you start to feel better, then you're going to have more motivation to keep going. But
Yeah.
I usually recommend people only try one at a time. And just like this man who radically, changed his diet and his exercise and his passion, if you can, as I said, if you can just take one, you're going to find that
Yeah.
this was going to help you and how you feel.
Yeah.
But what I would suggest, and especially if you have a personal or a family history of colon cancer, is to eat a primarily plant-based diet. Does it have to be all plant-based? No. If you really love meat, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with meat, but what I would do is reduce the amount that you have. So do a palm-sized version of some sort of healthy meat, whether that's grass-fed beef or chicken or a pork, and then do that 4 or 5 times a month. That's usually what the Mediterranean diets, the
Yeah.
people who are in the blue zones do, is four or
Yeah.
five times a
I
month.
want to I want to talk to your point for 1 second before we move on. I want to give
Sure.
people a very specific example. So I got an article that came across my desk and I was so shocked by it. It was a study. And so for the people that are watching or listening to this show, and you really want to know what I'm saying or where I'm getting the information from, I'm going to give you several studies about it. But the thing that I was really drawn to was the latest conversation in science. And I'm probably going to mispronounce this, so you'll have to help me. And
Sure.
I have started to cut this out of my diet. I think it's called carrageenan, CARRAGEENAN. Now, I will say that all of you auditing this show, I'm going to reference science articles from 2001 from the National Library of Medicine, where we're now starting to get research on this.
Yeah.
This is a thickener, but now we have so much research on this and the impact of it. I'm now looking at my label. So I've had to eliminate just in 3 days 4 different things that I drink on a regular basis. One is my protein drink. So that's what I say by do one. See, this is my one focus, but I got to tell you, I didn't know how many things that was in.
Right. Right.
But
Yeah.
I'm on a mission because the science now, the research studies are out there on it.
Yeah.
And we could talk about that later, but this is just what we're saying. Pick one thing. So how do we create in our daily life? How do we get that chef within to prepare things that are going to keep us healthy without side effects like cancer?
Well, that's the $1,000,000 question,
It
isn't it?
is.
Well, first of all, I want you to give yourself a good pat on the back because, what I see in you is that you're always staying up on the research and what are the things that come out, that because we're learning new things every day, and there's a lot within our environment and in our foods that are not healthy for us, but we've taken it for granted that, oh yeah, this is just something that you eat. And then we find out later, oh, it can impact on your heart disease risk or your cancer risk or your Alzheimer's risk. So I like that you keep up with the research and the science, which is going to be a little bit more of a struggle these days because of some of the funding being taken away from the research, but we'll just, stay the course and do our best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
but
just want to say again, for people that may be auditing this show, neither one of us are medical doctors, but we are researchers. And you can go to the National Institutes of Health, NIH, it's government. You can also go to PLOS. You can also go to Medical News Today if you want to look up the studies that I looked at for this additive to food. But in the process, there is a solution. Tell us what you are looking at. How do people do this? Let's get down to it. Because when people hear, oh, cut back on meat, well, are eggs a good substitute for people that are active? So give us an update on what you find. What can we do? And are you going to give us a couple of recipes here today?
well, I'm going to give you one that is very exciting. I hope I hope you get to try it sometime this week. Yeah, so, in terms of foods, think about when you're talking primarily plant-based and you take your plate and you're dividing it into quarters, one quarter being whole veggies, very colorful, wholesome, fresh veggies. If you can't do fresh, do frozen. Because when they do frozen, they flash freeze it right after they pick it, and that actually holds the phytonutrients in it better. But the best is, just getting it fresh. And as colorful as possible, because when you mix all different colors of vegetables together or different colors of fruits together, basically what you're doing is you're getting more phytonutrients that will help different cellular processes keep your body healthier, keep your immune system stronger. So in terms of, vegetables, you may have green, broccoli, spinach, um, kale, you may have red peppers, beets, you may have celery, butternut squash, acorn squash. There's a variety of colors there, and they all have different phytonutrients in them. Then a quarter of your plate is going to be wholesome fruits like blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, um, uh, kiwi, green apples, pineapple, grapefruit, oranges. There's a variety of colors in that is going to be really healthy for your body. Whole grains, quinoa, oats, barley, farro. I just discovered farro a couple
Yeah.
years ago, and I never heard of it before. And I tried it, and I'm like, this is delicious.
Yeah.
So good for you. It makes you feel really good inside. But the thing that I like about all the things I just shared is they're simple. When you put them together, like if you were putting together a spinach salad, what I usually try to do, because I know that for moms, we are really healthy. I mean, we are really busy. We're trying to do a full-time job. We're, taking care of our kids, and then a full-time career job. By the end of the day, you're exhausted. You don't want to have to come home and spend a couple hours making a meal. So if you can do something that's simple, that takes less than 30 minutes, my motto is nutritious and delicious and as simple as possible. So
Yeah. And
I
there's
think
so
that
many
helps.
options now. So many
Yeah.
options now.
Yep.
For example, I was talking to Linda and I got 2 spaghetti squash. We keep things like that in the garage to keep them cool.
Yep.
And, and it's like, oh my gosh, let's cook these. And what you can
Mm-hmm.
do with that, and
Right.
let me tell you what I mean by cook. You put them in the oven, you put whatever you want on them, and out you get this delicious spaghetti vegetable. But
Yep.
these are things that if we kind of think ahead and do a little bit more planning, even the busiest of us can make this adjustment.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that moms taught me before I ever was a mom is if you can make things on Sunday, you make a batch. So then every day during the week, you can just ladle out a couple of spoons and there's your dinner right there. Right. And it makes it so much easier. Or maybe it's the lunch that you bring to work that you don't have to fuss over. It's already in its container and you're just taking it off in the lunch bag. It makes it so much easier if you can do everything ahead of time on a weekend.
Yeah.
The other thing that really helps is having healthy olive oil, healthy fats like olive oil, avocados, herbs and spices like oregano, coriander, turmeric. And then in terms of protein, as I said, you want to limit your protein. Growing up, we had protein with every meal, even breakfast, we had bacon. But nowadays, where I said palm sized, maybe you do fish, maybe you do a salmon, a wild caught salmon, or you do the palm sized grass fed beef 4 or 5 times a month. But there's also things like peas, legumes, lentils, trio beans, black beans that are so healthy for you and have a lot of proteins, and they don't add a lot of extra calories. So it's not like it's going to make you gain a lot of weight either. So that can be very helpful. And in terms of what we drink, try to drink water. And so if you think whatever your weight is, say you're 150 pounds, the amount of water you need is half of that in ounces. So if you're 150 pounds, 75 ounces of water a day. What I highly recommend is you do filtered water. And you can put a filter underneath your counter, or which will actually take out some of the metals. It'll take out PFAS. It'll
Yeah,
take drugs that people put down the toilet that end up
yeah,
in your water. And that will help, reduce the toxins in the
yeah.
water you're drinking.
I've had a Kangen system for 10 years. I don't sell it, but I will tell you there are other systems like it. And I got it because there was a situation here.
Yep,
I can't express the water thing. I mean, I'm watching what's going on in Bridgewater, New Jersey, where Linda lives, and
yep.
what happened there. But that is so important. I want to get back to food for a minute because we make up a story in our mind about how
Hmm.
complicated things are. And I want to make a pitch, read the label. That starts.
Yes. Oh,
But
that's
you
great.
can create things from scratch. You got a recipe you want to share with us, yeah?
Oh, I do. I'm
All
really
right.
excited about this because I will tell you, when my daughter was in high school and she was on the cross country team, she asked me, please switch my schedule because she couldn't keep, it was changing every week. It was too much. So I did every weekend, every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 12 hours. I came home from work one night and she had made a pizza. And I was like, oh, Kelsey, what's this? She goes, oh, Mom, I made dinner. And would you like a piece? And I'm like, sure, I'd love a piece. And I tried it. It was good. I got through with that. Mom, would you like a second piece? Sure. And I got through and I said, Kels, how did you make this? This is really delicious. She shared with me it was a flourless pizza. It was
Wow.
actually, the crust was actually made from cauliflower. It's called the Amazing Cauliflower Veggie Pizza. And
Wow.
I'm going to share with very quickly how you can make it yourself. So you take a cauliflower, you shred it in a food processor, and then you take a cup of it and you put it in the microwave for like 8 minutes. And then you put that in a bowl. You add a half a cup of shredded part skim mozzarella cheese, and then put mix in a tablespoon of 3 seeds. One is flaxseed, the other is pumpkin seeds, and the other is sunflower seeds. Mix that all together, take 1 egg, beat it up, throw that in. Now you mix this dough, what seems like a dough, into a ball. You oil a pan, a pizza pan, flatten out your dough on the pizza pan, put it in a 350-degree oven for 10 to 15 minutes, and then take it out. Now you're going to put your toppings on. So whatever
Mm,
toppings you like, you might use tomato sauce. She used tomato sauce. She had spinach, artichoke hearts. She had uh, goat cheese, 1 teaspoon of oregano, and a half a teaspoon of chopped fresh garlic. You put that back into the oven at 350 degrees for 10 to 15 minutes, and voila, you have
yeah.
the most delicious, healthy pizza you've ever eaten. And it's only like it's from start to finish, getting all the ingredients out, putting it all together, getting it the last thing out of the oven. It's probably less than 40 minutes.
And again, this is low carb and it's also low carb, but it has in it great fat in it. It
Yep.
has things you can put on it and and it tastes delicious. I mean, this is the thing that
Yeah.
I love sharing with people. And this kind of debunks the idea that I don't have time because I don't know if you can do this with this crust, but I have a friend that does all of her crusts. Like she'll do two of these kinds of pizzas and then she'll put them in the fridge. But what
Yep.
you're talking about here today, and I thank you for bringing this to the forefront. This is to give people a guidepost. It's to say, beware of this and try doing one of these things we're talking about today. Make a change and commitment to just one thing.
Right.
Now, I had no idea the one thing I picked affects so many things. So what I'm trying to say is I happen to pick an ingredient that gets in thickeners that they've banned
Right.
in Europe, which I didn't
Right.
know. But
Yep.
you can start wherever you are. Thank you for
Yeah.
today. Please give out your website. I would love to know what your personal message is. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, well, basically, the most important take home message is that 75% of colon cancers are preventable.
Mm,
And oftentimes it's our genes in the setting of our environment. But one of the most critical times is in pregnancy, young childhood, and adolescence when the body is growing and changing, the cells are dividing rapidly. And as a mom, when you're pregnant, that's one of the most important times. And I know myself, when I was pregnant, it was really important to me that I have a healthy baby. I would do anything within my power to give my baby the best chance of being healthy. So I put together a course that I hope, a 6-week workshop. It starts on March 27th, every Thursday evening from 6 to 7:30 p.m. You can do it from the comfort of your own home. Bring your dinner with you if you want. We're going to make a couple of recipes in some of these weeks. It will end on May 8th. The only week we won't be seeing each other is April 24th. But it's called Creating Optimal Resilience in Your Pregnancy. And what I want to do with this is I want to help you to be resilient, to be persistent, and reach for your dreams. And I want to give you that support and empower you with the tools that I know for a fact can help you keep yourself healthy and give your baby the best chance of being healthy and strong for the long term. So if you go to my website, aureliecormier.com/workshops, you'll see my workshop. You can click on it. It will take you to Eventbrite. You sign up, and I would love to see you there because I just love keeping people
Yeah.
healthy and strong.
Well, I lost a dear friend 2 weeks ago to cancer, thought she had it beat. And I found out a very close friend of mine, my table tennis partner, has cancer throughout his body. And, these are the kinds of things and shows that we could help people even with that
That's right.
diagnosis.
Right.
This is what we really want to do. And I know you live and breathe this every day. Honestly, I don't know how you do it, but I am grateful you do.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Well,
much, Aurelie.
yeah, I'd much rather prevent it than what I used to
I
do for 41 years, treat people after they got sick. So if I can help you prevent it, that warms my heart and fulfills my passion in
mm,
life. Yeah.
Thank you. And one of these days, we'll really break this down and do a show on some of the latest research that has come out,
Yeah.
especially the latest on this thickener I mentioned. And again, I
Yeah.
want to say, new studies out there, results are staggering. That's why my protein drink just went on sale at a rate that it's never been before, because they were listed at the top of the list for this. Aurelie, thank you so much. Stefan, thank you so much. And to all of you out there, I hope today you heard something that not only gives you hope, but gives you a solution. Just pick one thing, just one. We'll see
Just
you
one.
next time. Just one.
And just start now.
Just one, start now. Thank you, Aurelie. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you all.
Yes.
Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Thank you, Dr. Pat. You've been listening to the Intentional Wellness Parenting Show with Aurelie Cormier and Dr. Pat, where we set an intention to create healing and wellness every living day. Tune into Transformation Talk Radio every third Tuesday of each month at 11:30 a.m. Pacific and 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time for more guidance and support. Beyond this, I offer workshops to focus on your good health while reducing risk of disease, especially cancer, so you can do more of what you love and spend less time being sick. What I know for sure is that this is especially beneficial for couples who are pregnant, have young children, or teens, as you will give yourself and kids the greatest chance of living a longer, healthier life. So please join us at the Intentional Wellness Parenting Show. For more information, visit aureliecormier.com.